Today we're going to have a quick look at testing batteries. Now, what we need to know first is whether the battery has the correct state of charge, or how well the battery is charged, before we can go ahead and testing it. Batteries contain poisonous substances, they have acid in them, and they have lead in them. So it's important that we wear the appropriate PPE, apron to protect our skin and clothes, gloves to protect our hands from the acid, and obviously eyewear so we don't get anything splashed into our eyes. We're going to use two things. We're going to be using the hydrometer to check the state of charge, and we'll also look at it with a digital multimeter. So let's have a quick look at this battery first. We're going to check firstly the open circuit voltage of the battery using our digital multimeter. So our two leads, to negative and to positive. Okay, we have a reading of 12.82 volts on our digital multimeter. If I check against my chart here, it tells me that anything above about 12.6 volts is considered to be about fully charged. Okay, so that's our digital multimeter. Let's see whether our hydrometer agrees with the digital multimeter. Now let's use the hydrometer to check the specific gravity of the electrolyte in this battery. We've removed the vent caps and we will proceed to check each cell for the specific gravity reading using our hydrometer. Okay, as you can see, the float in the hydrometer will float up and give us a reading of about, on that particular cell, it's in the green, which is a good sign, but when we take a proper reading, it's about 1275. And if we have a look at our chart, once again, anything above 1265 is pretty much fully charged. So at this stage, that cell is agreeing with the reading we got on our digital multimeter. Let's just quickly go through and check each cell. Much the same. That's cell number 3. So we've checked all 6 cells and all are reading fully charged. You'll notice that all the cells were quite even, which is a good sign for this battery. We also need to observe the fluid that comes up into the tube and check that it's nice and clear. If you checked a cell and it had some blackness in that fluid, that would indicate that we had some problems with the plates inside that cell. So there's some visual checks we do, as well as taking our readings of specific gravity. On this occasion, around about 1275, which is telling us this battery is fully charged, and if we then go to the next step of load testing it to check its condition. So let's check a second battery. This particular one here, we'll check that with the multimeter first. And our multimeter reading is 11.24. Okay, if I check against my chart, the voltage reading of 11.9 is telling me that the battery is discharged. So once again, let's check, see whether the hydrometer reading agrees. Just something to be careful of when you're using a hydrometer. The hydrometer relies on the float to float up and down inside the tube. Many hydrometers will have a stopper in the top of the hydrometer here. So when you draw the fluid in, the float can hit that stopper and give you a false reading. So as you can see here, this one will float right up through, but I don't know whether that's being tracked here or not. So we want to be able to remove the electrolyte. Now we can see the top of the float and the bottom of the float and we know that nothing is affecting its reading, so we can take an accurate reading. So once again, I removed the vent caps and we're going to check the specific gravity with the hydrometer. First thing you'll notice in this first cell has no electrolyte in it, so that one would have to be topped up and recharged before we could do a proper check on it. But let's just go to another cell and check that. Okay, so we have a reading there of approximately 1225. Okay, it's in the white area, it's saying it's a moderately charged cell. We look at 1225 on our chart, it's saying it's about 75% charged. Now that's not conducive with the voltage reading we got on the open circuit voltage check with our digital multimeter. So this battery is not in a condition at the moment for us to be able to say we can reliably go and check it with our load tester. Firstly, we would need to check the electrolyte in all cells, top them up to the correct level, approximately 6 to 8 millimetres above the plates, recharge the battery, and then do our tests all over again.